Beginning of the third millennium, despite all expectations, was not marked by an ascent of civilization to a new level of evolutionary and technological development. To the contrary, in the 21st century, the world not only failed to get rid of the former crisis syndromes, but faced even more large-scale forms of economic and financial turmoil. For most countries in the world, the Great Recession turned out to be almost bombshell. At the same time, few of the world experts were able to see signs of a fundamental pathology of the global financial economic system within the nature of this painful process. In these conditions, the president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, was the first of modern politicians who has publicly indicated fundamental defects of the global monetary system. At the same time, being guided by a high measure of personal responsibility for the overall progress of humanity, including countries of the Regional Economic Partnership, President Nazarbayev initiated an impartial look at the world problems and set a benchmark for a consolidated scientific way to meet the global contemporary challenges. We have huge human resources and, most importantly, minds that jointly can raise our cooperation in the development of breakthrough high-tech sectors of the economy to a qualitatively new level. For this purpose, we are ready to create the Eurasian Club of Scientists in Astana. The first step in the practical implementation of the idea of President Nazarbayev to reform the global financial system was creation of the association Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists in Astana, a unique international scientific integration platform for large-scale anti-recessionary format projects. As part of this club, united forces of the global science, politics and business, just within 5 years of productive activities, were able to bring many contemporary issues to a level of international discussion. The first two forums were held by means of financial, organizational, human resources of the Economic Research Institute and their colleagues from other states who joined the Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists. During the very first economic forum, 100 participants came from around 40 countries. Thanks to the efforts of the Economic Research Institute and the association itself, a number of world-renowned economists and practitioners from over 110 countries around the globe became members of the Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists. In the conditions of global change within financial and economic structures, Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists, as an intellectual platform, has demonstrated to the world the potential of consolidated scientific and practical forces of the planet to provide recommendations and mechanisms not only to combat the crisis, but also to prevent future threats. This potential pronounced itself with the highest dynamism during the Astana Economic Forum, a large-scale successful project of the Club of Scientists that is carried out on a systematic and regular basis. First, fundamentally important conclusions underlying economic processes and principles of capital circulation, as set out by the President of Kazakhstan in the articles Keys to the Crisis and The Fifth Way, published in the international media, caused a huge stir in academic and political circles in Europe, Asia and America. Later, in the midst of a turbulent period of 2009, Kazakh leader made a statement about the deficiency of the world monetary system and the principles and methods of the dollar emission and circulation during his appeal from the rostrum of the Second Astana Economic Forum. At the same time, he outlined the idea of a single, supranational currency of a new type as a top priority of the president. Acting rules of the monetary system lag far behind the modern geofinancial information technologies, and they do not meet the full needs of maintaining of the world order. Thus, it is not that hard to understand that cosmetic cleanup of the modern global financial system without touching the roots of these very contradictions won't lead to any improvements. Of course, it is quite convenient to put the entire blame of all our misfortunes, lack of initiative and responsibility on the invisible hands of the market. But the time has reached for the entire world to take the responsibility for our future into our own hands. If we in the nearest future do not renew completely the fundamental economic paradigm on which we stand, then the world will have little chance to survive. Of course, I was very impressed by the speech of the President of Kazakhstan during the forum. It was rich, factual, specific, and devoid of watered-down phrases. He seems to be on your toes, explained that he would like to see in exchange relations, food and energy security. Take my deep admiration and full satisfaction with the way, in principle, it is possible to organize such a forum and successfully carry out. Astana Economic Forum was organized very well. I am amazed at this level. Astana Economic Forum is an unusual collection of many world leaders. I want to say a big thank you to your admiration for the President, Nursultan Nazarbayev, the greatest man with boundless energy and a great work ethic.
I would like to start by commending the Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists and the Economic Research Institute for taking the initiative to organize this important international conference.
The second Astana Economic Forum has initiated an annual development of recommendations for the member countries of G20 that was published in the Financial Times before the summit of G20 in London. According to the top world scientists, theoreticians and practitioners, these recommendations significantly contribute to the definition of correct algorithms for further actions of G20 countries. Since these recommendations essentially concentrate combined opinions of experts from 140 countries, the importance of these proposals cannot be underestimated by those who make important global decisions. I want to thank an honorable spokesman of the Republic of Kazakhstan for that he presented us very good recommendations resulting from the 5th Astana Economic Forum, which took place last month. I'm sure that they will be really taken into account and will be reflected in the agenda of my message. Discussions with G20 leaders as well as with the representatives of the G20 presidency in Mexico. Kazakhstan, jointly with the states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, is taking the initiative of holding the World Anti-Crisis Conference. It is open for participation to all countries of the world and will eventually develop a draft plan of global reforms plan, which could become a United Nations anti-crisis plan. I am proposing this initiative from the podium of the 20th anniversary of independence, because our sovereign country over the years has become a reliable partner for international community. Today we are leading the global movement for the nuclear-free world. We are well represented in the United Nations. We successfully chaired the OSCE and held the first and so far the only in the 21st century OSCE summit in Astana. This year we chaired the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We hold congresses of world religions, a lot of organizations like holding international conferences in Astana. I am listing all of these because while offering G Global, I want to emphasize that the world community has trust in Kazakhstan, and we have a mandate to make this appeal, and I am confident that it will be heard. Every year, the Astana Economic Forum, acting as a broadcaster of the sensible reason of multipolar world, engages a growing number of economists, politicians and experts from all around the world into the epicenter of the global dialogue. In 2013, discussions during the 6th Astana Economic Forum and the First World Anti-Crisis Conference were attended by well over 12,000 delegates, including 3,200 overseas participants from 136 countries. Today, Astana Economic Forum, which has become a resonant dialogue platform of the multipolar world and the broadcaster of the consolidated scientific opinion, possesses a powerful communication platform, G Global, created in order to attract a wider public from the progressive world community to discuss issues of global economic development. This communication platform plays the role of electronic Bretton Woods, uniting the efforts of the intellectual part of the world community in the development of optimal anti-crisis mechanisms for their subsequent application in practice. In the past year, I proposed to create a group of G Global as a complement to the mechanism of G20 in order to create international economic policy and finding global anti-crisis solution. Today, G Global is an international virtual platform based on Astana Economic Forum and established by the Association Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists. To date, G Global includes over 10,000 participants from nearly 150 countries and was supported by 14 Nobel Prize winners, the Reinventing Bretton Woods Committee, Club de Madrid, European Commission, as well as representatives of international organizations, business and scientific communities. We were pleased to see broad support for our initiative G Global on part of the political, academic and business circles. Finding solutions to challenges facing us requires the participation of a larger number of experts, and Cambridge University could play an important role in this process. During the Astana Economic Forum, with the beginning of anti-crisis discussions on a global level in virtual format, the right of every person on the planet to take part in the discussion and development of the UN anti-crisis plan was exercised. The essence of the idea behind G Global, which is the unity of a multipolar world, was perceived by the world community as a form of constructive solution to contemporary conflicts, including the provision of local and global security in the world. In the conditions of socio-economic and political instability in certain regions of the world, structural imbalances and other problems of the world economy that lead countries to economic and social upheavals, the essence of such a priority of the G Global as evolution, not revolution, brings new constructive and civilized beginnings. Development of human civilization, in my opinion, can be maintained based on the following 5 principles that I propose to call the principles of G Global. First, evolution, not a revolution. I believe that humanity has exhausted the limit on revolutions and world wars within the last century. I believe that humanity has exhausted the limit on revolutions and world wars within the last century. So today, the wisest thing to do for humanity is to preserve our peace, otherwise we will self-destruct. In the 21st century, successful update of the global architecture can only be evolutionary. The second principle is justice, equality and consensus. In the 21st century, the division of countries as great or minor, leading or trailing, is civilizationally invalid. Inertial dominance of one over the other does not lead to progress. It poses a danger of leaving individual countries and regions of the world on the sidelines of the global development. This is a dead end for everyone. An alternative to such geopolitical practice is a fair basis for the development of the global economy, monetary system and policies based on equality of all states. The third principle is a global tolerance and trust. I agree with the authors of the modern concept of the creative class that in the 21st century tolerance becomes an important driver of economic growth. One of the levels of pulling the world economy out of recession into a state of equilibrium is tolerance. The fourth principle is a global transparency. World in the format of G Global is a transparent community of nations. The fifth principle, constructive multipolarity. Creating a multipolar world is a global trend of development in the 21st century. Communicative platform G Global is a virtual world where anyone can get acquainted with the expert review of the projects implemented by the Eurasian Economic Club of Scientists and the topical content of all discussions of AEF and WAC, World Anti-Crisis Conference. In addition, anyone with knowledge and constructive proposals can take part in the debates and discussions of the Internet platform. On the eve of the 6th World Economic Forum and World Anti-Crisis Conference, a new virtual forum based on G Global platform has begun. Within a month after the launching, the forum was attended by representatives of 160 countries, and there were about 68 online conferences in total. At the same time, it received over 110 constructive proposals for the leaders of the G20, including 700 reports, 80 recommendations for the forum, and 37 proposals for the conference.
I think the G Global is one of the important ideas. I think people are fully aware there's a lack of participation of major stakeholders in the world economic governance. I would say that G Global is one
A significant milestone in strengthening the international dialogue on crisis management topics was the World Anti-Crisis Conference that was held during the 5th Astana Economic Forum and was supported by the UN General Assembly. Kazakhstan's initiative on WAC was supported by all 183 UN member states. The conference included around 10 major events, including the Russian presidency over the G20 and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on the development of the world over the past 50 years. In close cooperation with the Eurasian community of scientists and practitioners, the conference discussed a wide range of issues related to political, economic and other contradictions of modern development and ways of solving them. The new global economy is not conceivable without a new and fair world order. I appealed to the international community to immediately begin working on a pact of global regulation. This document can be a real tool for harmonization of key aspects of international economic policy. Dear friends, if you look into the future with anxiety, then the future will be looking at us with the same anxiety. Any crisis is above all an opportunity for changes in the future. I am interested in reforming the international monetary system, and I have come to discuss the issue to Kazakhstan and not some other country, because the President of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, promotes its implementation. For a country that is a representative of new markets, it is a great way to join the process, because then you are not just a participating country, but you are a reformer country. Holding the World Anti-Crisis Conference in Astana was not just one major event in the movement of the countries towards a crisis-free world, but also marked the beginning of the practice of discussing the key issues of our time directly with the support of the UN General Assembly and the chairmanship of the G20 countries. This said, the World Anti-Crisis Conference not only continued the frozen discussions within the UN, but also took place as an independent format, which has its own status, role and significance in the global anti-crisis discourse.
There are all kinds of Gs. There's the G7 and the G8 and the G20 and the G77, and all those groupings of nations are about people who are in it. So you become a member, you are you've made it, if you're in this particular grouping or not. But it's also about those people who are out.
The World Anti-Crisis Conference has adopted the Astana Declaration and the main lines of the UN World Anti-Crisis Plan. It sets out proposals from representatives of 136 countries of the world to develop and maintain long-term economic growth through transnational cooperation, reduction of global and domestic income inequality, as well as ensuring proper regulation and control of finances. Stressing the importance of a coherent anti-crisis plan of global reforms, the President of Kazakhstan noted that during any crisis, action is better than inaction. This thesis became an iconic symbol of the conference to initiate a general alignment of economic policies, the context of which would exclude the factors entailing destructive phenomena. I fully share the view that the global crisis was primarily a crisis of confidence. There is no trust among the global financial institutions, actors of the financial sector of the real economy, countries, and so on. I am convinced that without the public trust, any turnaround plan will be watered down to the practice of patching up the holes. The role of the Astana Economic Forum, the World Anti-Crisis Conference and communication platform G-Global as the most important dialogue platforms of the multipolar world will continue to increase. At the same time, the practice of discussion in a WAC format, whose purpose is to develop the world's anti-crisis plan, and its further implementation is a process designed for a long-term perspective. Within this global discourse, Astana continues to be perceived by the world community as the epicenter of international efforts to counter global challenges. Today, the world needs a new global financial and economic system, effective global security structure, including nuclear ones. Today's financial and economic system was established at Bretton Woods and is celebrating its 70-year anniversary next year. its 70th anniversary next year. The continued global dialogue has a huge potential, leading to the promotion of tolerance and accord. In the context of the global transformation, a political will, determination, consistency, openness and trust are required as never before. The first World Anti-Crisis Conference was held at the level of international financial institutions, corporations, central banks, leaders and government members. It defined the framework of further joint actions to improve the health of the global economy. During the upcoming Second World Anti-Crisis Conference, which will be held in May of 2014 during the 7th Astana Economic Forum, representatives of the international community, ministers of economy, finances and heads of central banks are bound to adopt the UN project of the World Anti-Crisis Plan, whose implementation will determine the fate of the global economy and civilization in general. Beginning with 2007, a step-by-step implementation of these tasks has been taking place. We are already in the midst of this process. We have a possibility to develop this anti-crisis plan by 2015-16 and submit it to the heads of the states and governments of the United Nations and to submit it to the UN General Assembly as well.
Of course, something it's comparable with is the Davos Forum, which is an annual thing. I think it's in February.
In order to democratize this process and provide the right to every person on the planet to take part in the drafting of a truly global project of planetary significance, discussions of the Astana Economic Forum and the World Anti-Crisis Conference are moving to a year-round basis. For this purpose, a virtual project on the basis of the G-Global platform was launched on the 1st of July in 2013 as a forum for continued discussion on formulation of the agenda for a 7th Astana Economic Forum and the World Anti-Crisis Second Conference, which will be held May 2024, 2014. We have entered the global crisis along with the entire world, and the only way to find the key to the solution against it is to do it together as well. It all depends on us. Nursultan Nazarbayev, Keys to the Crisis.